Drive Culture. I'm Jonathan Rivers, and today we have the 2023 Chevy Camaro SS 1LE. And I'm going to tell you why this is one of the best American muscle sports cars on the planet. So we're going to go over the exterior, the interior, the powertrain, and of course, take it for a drive. So if this is content you're after or you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. And with that, let's get after it. Now, this car we have here is our first American muscle, V8 muscle that we're bringing to drive culture. So happy to do it. Really thankful to the owner for letting us check out this amazing spec car. So there's a lot to cover, so let's just jump right into it. So first and foremost, let's talk about the Camaro, right? Let's go all the way back to the beginning when the first gen Camaro launched. So now you're talking 1966, right? That's when this car launched as a 67. And it was really in response to Ford, right? Bringing the Mustang to the marketplace, right? Chevy had to go, wait a minute, they can't have all the fun here, right? So they bring out a muscle car to compete against the Mustang. Now, it's funny because at the time, the Chevrolet reps, they were asked, well, what is a Camaro, right? And they came back and they said, it's a small, vicious animal that eats Mustangs, right? So you can imagine that set off this war that has lasted for essentially 60 years, going back generation after generation. Now, the Camaro that we have here is the sixth and final generation of Camaros. So it launched in 2016. And then this 1LE, this kind of special package, launched a year later in 2017 and went all the way into the final 2024 model year. Now, like I said, this one here is a 2023, but it effectively is one of the last production Camaros that you could buy. So let's jump right in and let's kind of talk about like this specific car and what we got going on here. So like I said, this was a 2023. It's painted in a fantastic Riverside blue metallic paint. No upcharge there, so that's a steal because this looks really, really good. At the time, the MSRP on this car for an SS Camaro was $39,900. And to get the 1LE package, you had to pony up another $7,500. Now, the owner here, above and beyond that, got two other dealer options, right? So one was the red seat belts, which we'll cover here in the interior, and a full weather mat that goes into the trunk of the vehicle. So adding all that up, the MSRP on this car was $47,760. So we'll put that up there. Of course, it doesn't include D&H and some other things, but again, to give you an idea that this car, a track-ready car, was under 50 grand. So truly a performance car value. Now, the cool thing is that 1LE was based off of the 1SS package. So this isn't a 2SS package for you, Camaro fanboys out there. This is kind of essentially the base package. Then you add all the performance goodies on top of it. Well, it's not only performance goodies, but you also got some good styling elements as part of that 1LE package. So next, let's go ahead and jump into the exterior design and talk about all the upgrades you get as part of that 1LE package. So first and foremost, again, with this 6th gen Camaro, they, just like any product in the marketplace, they had a few updates throughout the life cycle, right? They made some changes to the front fascia over the years, kind of going back and forth, and then they landed on this design that we see today. And I think this is probably the cleanest and best execution of the Camaro, in my opinion, right? So, up front, it looks super aggressive, right? Blacked out grille, the blacked out Chevy badge, and even the blacked out SS badge up front looks really, really aggressive, premium. You got LED headlights, you got fog lights down below, huge openings, right, to feed the radiator, because this thing truly has a massive V8 powertrain, which we'll get into here in a second. You even got that really aggressive spoiler down there as well. Now, one of the cool things is on that 1LE package is you got this kind of matte wrap on the hood. Now you're sitting here looking at this one and you're going, well, wait a minute, where is that? Well, that's the thing. The owner of this car actually remove the matte wrap. So that's kind of cool. They actually removed it to keep it that Riverside blue. And what they did instead was they actually wrapped the front fascia and part of the hood in a clear paint protection film, so PPF. So to protect their baby, they don't drive it very often, right? They wanted to, making sure it shines as bright as it could be. But I don't know. Let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Do you like the matte black hood? Is that something you keep? Is that something you change like this owner did here? But again, I think that 1LE package either way really brings out this aggressive look on the Camaro. So next, let's start making our way to the side. Again, I think the shape of the Camaro was always really good, but again, with that aggressive front fascia and that lower lip, it really, really looks mean up front. And boy, does that 1LE package serve you well in one of the most important areas of the car, the suspension, the chassis, and the wheels. So let's go ahead and look at what we're working with up front. So as part of this package, you get these awesome high performance Goodyear Eagle supercar 3 tires. Right now up front, you're working with 20-inch wheels and they're wrapped on 285 30 ZR20 tires. So these are some really serious performance tires here, guys. To give you some perspective, I think these are kind of in line with what Michelin's working with on their Pilot 4S series of tires, right? So a fantastic summer tire that you could absolutely just go straight to the track with. Now, one of the other things is peering behind those massive wheels are some huge brakes. Those are gigantic brakes. And up front, you're actually working with 6-piston Brembo calipers, right? So painted in red, looks really sweet, right? As you see on the side there, you kind of got that awesome Camaro badge just down below. Nice little detail. You got some shadow black trim for the windows, black side mirrors. And again, other than that, it kind of looks like a standard Camaro. But as we get to our, the rear wheels and tires, so now it's a staggered setup, right? So you got even bigger, even wider tires in the back. So they're still 20-inch wheels, to be fair. Again, they look really good in that kind of like, gray color that they got here. But these are 305 30 ZR20s in the back. So you've got some tank tires, guys. I mean, I think these are the same size tires that we had on the NSX, right? So that gives you an idea of truly how wide and how high performance the package is on this car. And even in the back, you're still working with 4-piston Brembo calipers on those brakes there. So, I mean, a massive, wheel and tire package and braking package is part of this 1LE. Add to it the fact that this car also comes with what they call the magnetic ride suspension. I mean, the MR dampers, right? They're fantastic. They give great ride quality while also allowing, even more aggressive handling in the different drive modes. So really, really awesome chassis, wheel, and tire setup here. As we make our way to the back, one other small detail, right? Only the Camaro fanboys are going to notice this, but the owner has splash guards here on the car, and that rear reflector has actually been darkened. Normally that's a bright red right there behind the rear tire. That was actually darkened by the owner to kind of bring it in line with the rest of the 1LE package. So as we make our way to the rear, this thing looks great back here. It's got a huge deck lid spoiler, again, a part of that package. It's got those kind of clear tail lights, right? It looks really, really premium. The blacked out Chevy badge again, the blacked out SS badge. And of course, as you make your way down to the rear, you got that awesome quad exhaust outlet. And again, boy, I can't wait to turn this thing on and rip through the gears because, having that massive V8 produces some awesome sounds. In fact, one of the cool things about that 1LE package is the fact that it actually has an active exhaust baffle as part of that setup as well. So again, this thing looks pretty sweet, guys. And again, it's a very, very good spec. So let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Do you like the Riverside Blue Metallic? Do you like the 1SS package? Is it the way to go? Let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. But since we've covered everything on the exterior, next, let's go ahead and hop inside to talk about the interior. All right, guys, here we are inside the Camaro SS 1LE. And I have to admit, it's a really nice place to be for a sports car, especially considering the price point on this thing. There's some really good materials in here, some upgrade, touch points, part of this whole 1LE package. And I mean, one of the first things that I noticed was the steering wheel. So it's a flat bottom design, says SS here in red letters on the bottom, so that's a nice little touch point. But as part of that 1LE package, the steering wheel itself is Alcantara. So that feels really good in your hands. It actually even has contrast stitching on it, so really premium stuff. I give a lot of credit for that. Says Camaro here in the middle. Get your cruise control stuff on the left. Some of your menu controls here on the right. And then down below, you got volume controls on your right, as well as some of your ability to customize your favorite controls over here on the left. Now, one of the interesting things is that there's these paddle shifters here behind the steering wheel. But what they are is they're essentially what they call the rev match engage and disengage paddles. So my understanding is that they work the same. Whether you pull the left one or the right one, it can turn on the auto rev match system for the transmission. We'll talk about that in a sec. Or turn it off. But they're like really high quality. They feel like they're metal, so really good material choices there. Outside of that though, again, this is my first time to really sit in one of these newer generation Camaros, let alone drive it. And what I'll say is, I always heard that, it's maybe a little hard to see out of, or you felt a little claustrophobic inside of this. But to be fair, given my position right now, yeah, I mean, it's not claustrophobic. I can definitely see out front. You clearly have a much, kind of smaller windshield than you're used to on most mainstream cars. And part of it is you have a very high belt line here on the doors. But despite that, I still get lots of visibility out of the side. It seems like it's going to be pretty easy to see out of the side mirrors. As I look out back, I mean, same thing. There's no huge spoiler in your way. Even though it's kind of a smaller rear glass, I think I have pretty good rear visibility. But what I'll talk about next is like the seats. So as part of this 1LE package, you get these awesome, Recaro seats, and they're really good materials. Like the outboard part is kind of like this leather material with contrast stitching, but really even the front of the headrest all the way down is, again, this kind of Alcantara material as part of that package. And the seats feel really good. They really do feel like kind of like straight up sports car bucket seats, but they're both power. So actually on the driver's side, they're 8-way power seats, and even on the passenger side, they're 6-way power seats. So pretty good, adjustability and functionality throughout. Pedal placement also feels really good, but we'll talk more about that in the drive. And with that, we got to address it, right? So there's 3 pedals, guys. So that means we're working with the 6-speed manual transmission here. And of course, we'll really get into that into the drive. But even the knob here, the shift knob and the boot is also the Alcantara material, a part of that 1LE package. So that also feels really premium to touch. Outside of that, back here, you got like a traction control, your drive mode toggle. You even have an electronic parking brake switch, kind of a socket here, cup holders, and a little bit of space in the center console. As far as like infotainment and stuff in this car, again, like I said, it's the 1SS package, but what that gets you is you have an 8-inch color touchscreen with both wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay compatibility. So that's a nice touch to have in your premium sports car. Pretty basic touch controls and also hard button controls here, but there is a volume knob, which is quite nice. You also get buttons here for your HVAC controls with these huge dials here that kind of adjust the fan speed and the direction. So pretty cool design component, and that carries over to the vents on the dash as well. You still get analog gauges, which I actually kind of like, especially in a sports car. They're very simple, red needles, white numbers, easy to read font. You get a 200-mile-an-hour speedo over there as well. Now in the center, you get a 7-inch color display that gives you all kinds of information, including a couple extra gauges in there as well. So again, pretty good materials. Now, with this being the 1SS, you get only the base audio system. You would have had to step up to the 2SS trim to get the Bose premium sound system in the Camaro. But other than that, again, there's no, moonroof, sunroof, anything like that. Again, it's a sports car, true and true. Like I said, I think it's pretty good materials, all things considered. So next, let's go ahead and see if I can squeeze into the rear of this Camaro SS. All right, guys, here we are in the rear of the Camaro SS 1LE. And admittedly, at first, I didn't think I was going to be able to get back here, but I talked to the owner of the car, and apparently that he has his 9-year-old son get back here frequently and go for rides with him. So, I mean, there are child latches back here, so I guess you could put some kind of a booster seat back here as well. So that's pretty impressive. And so, again, if you guys can see like how I'm sitting back here. Again, I'm 5'10". This is my actual driving position right here. So there's no real room here. My knees are kind of right up against the seat. I can straddle it a little bit. The one good thing is I can fit my size 12 shoes under the bottom of the seat. There's been some cars I haven't been able to do that, so that at least allows me to sit back here. So sure, if I had to go for a quick run with someone, I could sit back here for a little bit. I wouldn't want to sit back here for any extended periods of time though. But one of the things that's interesting, especially coming from the front to the rear, is sitting back here. You sit really like high up in the car. It's almost like stadium seating compared to the front row. So like sitting back here, I have like really good visibility out of the car. It's a very kind of interesting setup, but the seats are quite cushy, so the seats back here are comfortable. There's no real headrest back here, but admittedly I do have pretty good headroom the way that the roof is cut out. There's some speakers back here, a singular mat pocket behind the passenger seat. There's this kind of like space to maybe hold some stuff here in the back, but it's essentially a 4-seater. There's no way to fit a third person back here. No seat belt, no center armrest that comes out, but it looks like the seats do fold down. And just like the front and the rear, you get the red seat belts, which was that option that I mentioned the owner chose for the car. So with that, next, let's go ahead and check out the cargo space. All right, next, let's go ahead and check out the cargo space of this Camaro SS 1LE. So I've already got it popped open. There was a little button on the door, pretty easy. And there you go, it's open. Now, it's interesting, right? Because given where the cut lines are for the trunk, the actual opening itself is a little bit smaller than that. So it's a little bit surprising. But what they say is inside there's 9.1 cubic feet of space. So yeah, as I sit here, look, the opening is really kind of the limiting factor, but size wise, you could probably fit a good medium, size suitcase in here. You could easily fit 2 or 3 like good duffel bags back here. So, again, it's a sports car, right? At the end of the day, and you could always throw stuff in those small back seats if you really needed extra space. But again, there's pretty good space back here. And one of the cool things is, like I said, the owner opted for this kind of hard weather mat in the back, but it does say Camaro in it and it's got a little design to it. So that's obviously a nice little feature. But other than that, I think we've covered the cargo. So next, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain. All right, so let's talk about the powertrain of the Camaro SS 1LE. So it's a pretty big engine, as you can see here, guys. Just with the hood up, I mean, you get to see this V8 beast that lies underneath this hood here. So let's talk about the specs, right? So this is General Motors LT1 V8 engine, right? So essentially, it's like what came out of the C7 generation of the Corvette, right? And they shoehorned it in to this high performance version of the Camaro, right? So it's a 6.2 liter pushrod V8, and in this configuration, it makes 455 horsepower and 455 pound-feet of torque. So they're not messing around here, right? Of course, it's rear-wheel drive only. Now, you could opt for an automatic transmission, and in this generation, it had gotten to a 10-speed automatic transmission, but my understanding is that it was like an $1,800 option to go that route. So the owner made the smart choice and got the 6-speed manual transmission in his car. So you save some money and hashtag save the manuals. So I can't wait to drive this thing, right? It's really going to be awesome to hear this V8 sound. But of course, there's no better way than to prove that out than to get behind the wheel. So next, let's go ahead and take this thing for a drive. All right, guys, here we are inside this Camaro SS 1LE. We're gonna go ahead and take this thing for a drive. So first and foremost, go ahead and get my seatbelt. As I mentioned, the owner made an awesome choice in getting this red seatbelt color. So that's actually $195. So I don't know, let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Is $200 worth changing the color? But for me, it definitely adds a little bit of sportiness to the car. So with that, like I said, this is the 6-speed manual transmission. So I'm gonna push in the clutch and the brake, and there's an engine start-stop button. Oh yeah, that sounds real good. I'm excited to drive this car, if you guys can't tell. So like I said, happy to bring, you know, our first American V8 muscle here to drive culture. And what better car to do it than this, right? I think this is the perfect car to showcase the V8 performance, right? So like I said, it's one of my first times kind of taking this thing around, but I'm gonna try to drive it and learn a little bit about it while I talk about my impressions. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and set off. One of the things that I noticed is the clutch, right? So it's stiff, not overly stiff, but first gear, it has a very like sensitive let out point, and if you kind of miss it and you don't give it enough throttle, I could imagine stalling out is a thing in this car. You have to really watch it. Not that it's a bad clutch at all, it actually feels really good, but it's like the timing and when you let out, especially first gear. Like throughout the rest of the gear, it's fine, but first gear, you kind of just gotta watch it. Otherwise, I can see you letting out too early, and then all of a sudden, well, there you go. You've missed your chance, and you might have stalled out. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about was the active rev match of the system. So like I said, there's these two paddle shifters. So if I pull it once, it tells me in the gauge cluster that it's now on, and the gear readout actually turns yellow. So like it shows first, but now it's a yellow. And so it's kind of nice. It tells you exactly like what gear you're in, and that the fact that the color is different signifies that the active rev match function is now engaged. And it's really easy because, you know, I mean, I could see, you know, man, a heel and toe would be really easy in this car, but having that feature is actually really nice. So here we are. He likes to step out. Man, this thing sounds incredible, man. That V8 sounds awesome. Just listen to that, guys. And the fact that, you know, it has that active exhaust valve, I mean, you're hearing all kinds of you know, crackles and pops coming from that exhaust. So that's actually really, really sweet. And that really wasn't me getting crazy into it. I was just kind of riding out the gears. So I mean, this car also has, you know, some pretty tall gears, it feels like. So you can easily get up into, like, you know, like I said, in second gear, you're probably in like 80 plus miles an hour. So, you know, so that is a big thing you got to get used to. You know, the speed can easily get away from you in this car. But man, it feels really good. I'm kind of going over this like normal drive route I use, and one of the things about it is that there's a lot of bumps and undulations. There's even a couple train tracks that we cross, and I kind of like driving that, and especially with something like this, because it really shows you, you know, how rough the ride is, or like the chassis. And so just even that, I went over a pretty aggressive train track, and man, it was easy. Like the Magna Ride system on this car is really, really good. And that's one of the things that people have always touted about the General Motors products, and the, you know, the Corvette that has them, and now this car that has it, is just how good the cars ride. So I've got one other like set of train tracks I'm about to go over here. I'm going like 40 miles an hour. I'm going to kind of keep speed just to test it. And oh, that was really good. I mean, not a lot of like harsh shocks to the chassis at all. So really, really good suspension tuning on this car. And yeah, let's get into it a little bit again. And like shifting gears, man, like I said, like that issue you have going out of first gear, you just get used to it, right? And man, the active rev match is really good. So yeah, this car, dynamically already is really good. It's a lot of fun. And honestly, again, like the visibility and stuff, I'm getting used to it too. I feel like I can see out of the car pretty well. I can see out of the car pretty well as I actually pull out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, once you get used to the, you know, just the views, it's not an issue. So first gear. push the back end, and here as I just kind of get into a little bit. It's so much fun. I see the traction control lights coming in, and then shift, and then I can't say how fast I'm going, man. This thing rips, but man, it sounds so good. It really does. This thing is too much fun. Wow, I'm impressed. You guys know me, you watch the channel enough, you know what kind of products we have in the channel, and you know it's clearly a lot of JDM, a lot of Honda, Acura, stuff like that. Clearly, we've got like the Porsches on here, BMW, things like that. So looking forward to bringing more brands and more products to the channel. But you know what, again, as someone that was born and raised in Michigan, right, the Motor City, the big three, all my friends growing up had some version of an American muscle car. Now back then they were quite different. I mean, Pontiac was still a thing back then, the Firehawk, right, all those other high performance pony cars back then. But you know what, I could never personally, back then the Camaro wasn't a thing for me. I mean, maybe the Mustang, but it's amazing how far they've come now in this 6th generation. I mean, you can tell that this car, and again, while I haven't driven the new Mustang yet, I'm guessing that's kind of the same feeling where it really feels like a button-down sports car now. It doesn't just feel like, this machine to just go straight line fast. Like the turning, the dynamics, the chassis, everything feels really dialed in, man. So here we go again. Fun here, guys, but let us know down in the comments, what else do you want to see on this channel? Do you want us to bring the ultimate competitor, the Mustang, to this channel? Do you want us to do a little bit older vintage products on the channel, right? I mean, muscle cars have been around since the 60s or before, so there's a lot of opportunity to bring some cool content to the channel. So happy to do that. We're gonna do one last blast. I can't help myself, and then we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. One thing I will say, because I didn't talk about it, were the brakes too. So again, 6 pistons up front, 4 in the rear. The brake performance on this thing is fantastic, but I mean, come on, how can you just ignore the screaming V8 to this car? It truly is a symphony on its own. So we're gonna go ahead and give it one last blast and wrap up this video. So you guys ready? Here we go, test the turn in. I mean, yeah, the dynamics are fantastic, and here's the sound, guys. All right, guys, that's a wrap. What did you think of the Camaro SS 1LE? Again, this is the first time we had any kind of American muscle here on Drive Culture. So again, let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Do you want to see more American muscle? Do you want to see its ultimate rival, the Mustang, here on Drive Culture? We're happy to bring it to you. I mean, and also let us know what your guys' thoughts are in general, right? Like I said in the video, this car, right, the Camaro, has officially been discontinued, right? It's going away. 2024 was the last model year. Is it gonna come back ever? We don't know. Is it gonna come back as some crazy EV version in the future? We don't know, but let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. And again, if you joined us before here on Drive Culture, thank you so much. But if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. Thanks, and we'll see you at the next episode.